You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. Good evening, Monday, August 19th, 2024. Intense Arctic heat occurred August 5th through August 9th this year. Temperatures not only went into the mid-90s, which is a rarity up there in the Arctic, especially the Canadian Arctic, but temperatures even went into the upper 90s. We had a city called Little Chicago. It's not Chicago. Chicago is the United States. It's right along Lake Michigan. But Little Chicago, it's north of the Arctic Circle. Temperature hit 97 degrees Fahrenheit, about 36 degrees Celsius. That's something which it's the hottest temperature ever in the Canadian Arctic. We have other areas where temperatures went to 98 and 99 degrees just south of the Arctic Circle, such as Norman Wells, which we're going to read about soon, and another place as well. What's interesting is that some of these places on the map, you can't even find a city for some of these areas. So, there's weather stations, but even when you go to weather apps, the names of the towns are really not clear. It's not clear if the towns really have names in some of these places. So it's difficult to even publish an article about it. But these are temperatures which are 36 degrees Celsius, as we said. Temperatures went up to 37 degrees Celsius when you go even just a bit south of the Arctic Circle. Temperatures came very close to 90 degrees all the way up to the Arctic coast. Deadhorse, Alaska, 89 degrees. Now, last year in August, temperature hit 84 degrees. That was the warmest August day on record for last year, but this year we beat it. 89 degrees in our first week of August this year. Record-breaking overnight lows was a variable in this heat, but only one small variable. The warmest minimal temperatures for the date in some locations were set ranging from 67 degrees Fahrenheit in Inuvik. We had an area in Alaska of 71 degrees. The 71 degrees was the warmest overnight low ever recorded for Alaska. High temperature in Inuvik hit 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Celsius. The reason the overnight lows were so high was due to the wind. South winds were really strong in both the Alaska area and in Canada, and this is what prevented the radiational cooling from being so effective. The temperatures just don't drop that much. That's the first thing. The main thing, however, was the synoptic weather setup on August 5th. On August 5th, the large warm high pressure aloft was centered over the southern Yukon territory with a strong low pressure system anchored over the Bering Sea. Over the next several days, the high pressure aloft drifted east while the low in the Bering Sea expanded eastward. It's interesting because usually we would use opposite language. We would use the word expanding east by a high pressure, and by low pressure we would say the center of it moved, but over here we're saying the opposite. To the west of the high center, strong south winds from the Gulf of Alaska going all the way up to the Arctic coast, to the Beaufort Sea coast, served to increase the temperatures of the air mass through latent heat release caused by water vapor being precipitated out on the south slopes of the coastal mountains, the Alaska Range, the Brooks Range, the Richardson Mountains, and then warming as the air descends on the north side of the mountains. That's what happened. The temperatures went into the mid and upper 90s and mid 80s at a minimal. Fairbanks, Alaska, high temperature 86 degrees during that period. So mid 80s at least. Temperatures were from the mid-80s to the upper 90s in this heat wave. A lot of this information comes from alaskaclimate.subtract.com, and we're now going to read about this in more detail. This was written by Rick Thaman. For the second summer in a row, extreme all-time record heat has big parts of northwest Canada and Alaska. In 2023, the July 8th through July 9th heat wave was centered in the middle and upper Mackenzie River Valley in central and southern Yukon territory. We did a podcast on this last year. We made an episode on the July 8th and July 9th, and then another one in August last year. This was the Alaska-Yukon borderlands and northern southeast Alaska on the edge. This year, August 5th through August 9th, 2024, the most extreme heat relative to the climatology occurred north of the Brooks Range and east of the Richardson Mountains. South of the Brooks Range, there were a few daily records of most notably the highest temperature, 87 degrees, southeast of Tak on August 6th. That's the highest temperature so late in the summer. The Alaskan North Slope, over there the temperatures peaked on August 6th. Climate observations have been made in the Deadhorse area since December 1968, and the high temperature of 89 degrees Fahrenheit. 31.7 degrees Celsius is by far the highest temperature in that time, breaking the previous record of 85 degrees Fahrenheit or 29.4 degrees Celsius on July 13, 2016. That's also the highest temperature on record in Alaska north of 70 degrees north latitude. And it's the second August in a row with extreme heat in this area. On August 5th, 2023, Deadhorse reached 84 degrees Fahrenheit, 28.9 degrees Celsius, which was, as it turned out, a short-lived monthly record high temperature. For the lower Mackenzie River Valley, the high temperature August 7th this year, 2024, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 34.8 degrees Celsius. That was at Inuvik, easily the highest temperature on record. Previous record was 33 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. That was July 4th, last summer, 2023. At Tuktoyaktuk. Now, some of these words are not spelled correctly, and I'm not even pronouncing them correctly, probably. The previous episode, actually, in regard to this, might have more accurate words, or you could always read the article. On the shore of the Beaufort Sea coast, on the high temperature, August 7th, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Not an all-time record high. All-time record high occurred July 1998 at 87 degrees Fahrenheit. But it is a new August record high. Fort McPherson has a very broken period of climate observations, but the high of 95 degrees Fahrenheit occurred on August 8th. It was higher than last July's high temperature by 3 degrees Celsius or 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit. 250 miles north-northeast of Inuvik also set an all-time record high of 88 degrees Fahrenheit on August 9th. The Mackenzie River Valley in the Satu region, high temperatures on August 9th. At Fort Good Hope, this is unbelievable, 99 degrees Fahrenheit. And at Norman Wells, 98 degrees Fahrenheit. They were both monthly record highs, but fell just short of the record set on July 8th, 2023. However, in some ways, this is at least as impressive as last summer's heat. And as much as it occurred a month later, in the summer, when clear sky solar heating at 66 degrees north latitude is already about 15% lower than it is in early July. 97 degrees Fahrenheit at Little Chicago on August 8th and 9th is the highest temperature on record in Canada north of the Arctic Circle. Again, it was 97 for those 2 days. It was in the mid to upper 90s for 4 consecutive days. If you look on this map, it's just totally amazing. Fairbanks, 86 degrees. In many of these areas, there are no cities. It just tells you where the weather station was. You go all the way up to the Arctic coast, you'll see Deadhorse, 89 degrees. Inuvik, 95 degrees again. There's an area way up north, 92 degrees. Little Chicago, again, 97 degrees. As we pointed out, Fort Good Hope, 99 degrees. Norman Wells, 98 degrees. Fort Good Hope is just south of the Arctic Circle, but Little Chicago is north of the Arctic Circle. Old Crow, 87 degrees. In some areas, overnight temperatures were also exceptionally high. Hillsides around Fairbanks saw temperatures remain above 60 degrees August 6th and 7th. Continuous strong south winds at Delta Junction, Fort Greely, between Fairbanks and Tak, was a major variable in keeping those overnight lows so high. From the evening of August 5th through the early morning of August 8th, these strong winds kept the temperatures elevated day and night. The result was the low temperature on August 6th was only 71 degrees, which is not only the highest minimum daily temperature on record at Delta Junction, but may well be the highest daily minimum temperature anywhere in Alaska. At Inuvik, the low temperature August 8th was only 67 degrees Fahrenheit, which is above the average daily high temperature for early August, but was not a monthly record. Now let's get into why it was so hot. The mid-atmosphere pattern supporting this heat wave is a classic pattern for supporting summer heat in northwest North America. On August 5th, the large warm high pressure aloft was centered over the southern Yukon territory and strong low pressure anchored over the Bering Sea. Over the next several days, the high pressure aloft drifted east while the low and by the Bering Sea expanded eastward. To the west of the high center, strong south winds from the Gulf of Alaska all the way into the B4C served to increase the temperature of the air mass through latent heat release caused by water vapor being precipitated out on the south slopes of the coastal mountains, the Alaska Range or the Brooks Range, the Richardson Mountains, and then warming as the air descends on the north side of the mountains. Immediate impacts from the sustained hot and dry weather across Northwest Territories was the dramatic growth of wildfire. Thank you for listening. I wish everybody a wonderful night and have a great week and stay safe. We have super impressive heat right now in the southern plains. Don't have really more details on that, but stay safe. Have a great week. Let's just go over the music, the background music. There wasn't really that much, but we have right now is Trans-Siberian Express, which is being played by, I believe it's Luli Gren, Luellagren. At a different point, earlier we had Inspiration, just the melody by Megan Wolford. And for a little bit, there was also Natural Inclination, just the melody, by Dream Cave. All paid for on Epidemic Sound.